if you understand government, you'll make your mind up about your politics. What I don't want you to do is just take yourself out of the process.
Yeah.
Because taking yourself out of the process doesn't make anything better. I would argue that it makes it worse for you, certainly, but because I need you and your support, your vote to make my life better, you making it worse for all of us when you take yourself out of the process. These are lives out here. There's no like, well, it's a throwaway life. We can mess up about 5 or 6 times. And maybe that one, no, you got to get it every time, because when you don't, people get hurt emotionally, physically. And then now you have to start thinking, why didn't we do what we should have done in the first place? And in Brightmoor, $24,000 is the annual median income. That is woefully low.
Yeah.
And you're just literally surviving. You're not thriving.
My working professionals, creators, entrepreneurs, I need y'all to tap in. Listen, if you're tired of fighting distractions at home or bouncing around from coffee shop to coffee shop, then Bamboo has exactly what you need to be able to lock in and get your work done. In addition to having flexible meeting rooms and event space, they've got a community that actually supports you while you're in the building. So if you're ready to lock in some space right now, guess what? I got you. If you head over to bamboocowork.com right now and use the promo code BlackFriday20, you'll get 20% off any of your rental bookings. Don't waste any more time. Head over to bamboocowork.com and take care of that. Use that promo code. I'll be seeing you at a Bamboo location sometime soon. Now, let's go ahead and get back into the episode.
What up, though, Black Fridays family? Welcome back to another installment of the Black Fridays podcast. Before we get into today's episode, hit that like button, subscribe, drop a comment. Make sure you send the video to family, friends, and loved ones so that we keep this thing going. Now that I got that business out of the way, we are welcoming back somebody to the podcast who is out here fighting for Detroiters each and every day. And they even got a promotion since the last time that we have seen them. We want to welcome back Detroit City Council President, Mr. James Tate. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's the crowd roar. I'm doing well, brother. How are you? Thanks for having me, too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the last time that we had spoke, you had an open invitation to the podcast. So I appreciate you using it to be able to bless us today.
Yes, sir. I love just connecting with folks, especially being able to connect with folks outside of the political world. They only see you as council president or council member or a politician, elected official, whatever you want to call it. And there's so many different layers. And I think people fail to realize that. So these type of opportunities give people a chance to kind of, see beyond just what they think they know of me.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned, you got that promotion since the last time that we talked, which I couldn't say nothing then, but I knew it was going to happen. But congratulations to you, first and foremost.
Yeah, it's been now, now council president. Last term, I was council president pro tem. And for those who, may not be aware, council president pro tem just means basically like vice president. And now to be in the position of president, it's a lot, it's an honor. Let me say that. I mean, after 17 years being on council, this last election, I ran unopposed, my fifth election. The Lord has blessed me, and I've done my best to make sure that I've fulfilled, the requirements of being a blessed individual in favor. I have no doubt in my mind that that's the case, because I have friends who, I grew up with, family members even, who I love and adore, but, they haven't had the level of opportunity and, if you want to call that, success/achievement. And so with that being said, I know that I have a huge responsibility to make sure that I do my all, so it's many days, like tonight, I'm going to go home. It's going to probably be about 9:00, but it's going to be a whole full day's worth of just grinding it out. The problem with that is, you end up, trying to go to sleep, you're thinking about emails, you wake up in the morning, you're thinking about what you're doing. So you're always in that constant drive. And my wife and I, we don't have any children. So it gives us all this time to just fill in the days with just work. And trying to get away from that, but when you're doing, service for the people, there's always a demand. And my wife, she's also she's in nursing. She's a phenomenal, just brilliant individual, still working on DEI, right? While federal government and others tried to strip us away,
Right.
strip it away from us and about from the fabric of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
She's plugging along. She's still working as a consultant in finding contracts and working with organizations that are brave enough to want equality. Like, how's that brave? That should be normal, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what have been some of the biggest changes from going from a city council member to city council president pro tem to city council president?
Yeah, well, as the president, now you are the one who is, supposed to be negotiating on behalf of the body. I can't just think so myopically, as the District 1 representative. When you're in a district, you're like, this is my district.
Mm-hmm.
And you just pour everything into it. It doesn't stop me from doing that, but I've got to now broaden it even more so as the council president, because while I'm still the council representative for City Council District 1, the furthest northwestern part of the city, I'm the only council president that they have. So I'm now popping into my colleagues' events on the east side, southwest, on the west side as well, which I did in the past, but now I'm much more cognizant about it because I know what it brings. Not so much for James Tate, but the council president. And so I always look at it from the position. What do you expect from the person who sits in that seat? Are you looking for someone to be fair? Check. Are you looking for somebody to be hardworking? Check. Are you looking for that person to be compassionate and empathetic? Check, check. So I'm trying to do all those things. Intelligent? Yeah, check. I got that too, right? So all those things, those boxes, and I mean, it just constantly keeps you busy. One thing I've recognized is that when you're the council president, you get so many more requests for everything, which again is a major, major blessing, but it also, stretches you because you're trying to figure out how to do everything, satisfy everybody, not disappoint anyone, and be as impactful as you can. And, as many days you go home thinking, man, maybe I could have done one more thing, or I'm glad that I'm in a position where I'm able to say no to something, So it's a balance. But it's just a lot more work, I'll be honest with you, and just a lot more engaging colleagues on issues on the front end as opposed to being one of the individuals that vote. A lot of the information comes to me first, and I have to disseminate it to my colleagues and figure out how we get all on the same page as best as possible. That doesn't mean we're all going to agree, but at least that we have the same facts, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it's all encompassing.
And because I know how hard you go for your district, District 1, I'm curious as to how do you divvy up your responsibilities as president and your district at the same time?
Well, I mean, it's definitely spinning plates. It's a challenge, but I have stayed committed to my district meetings that I hold every month. So every month I still host 3 community meetings, every first and third Thursday over at the Motor City Java House. Shout out to the Java House, Lobster and Grand River. And then every fourth Saturday of the month, we have what's called the District 1 monthly meeting, and we move that around the district. And to me, I think that's the secret sauce, where people get an opportunity to see me again out of the element of just being at a city council table. It takes away that ivory tower mentality that some people have about elected officials. And they see me in servant mode. I'm walking around with the microphone. Nope, you sit down. I'm bringing the mic to you. I make sure that you're as comfortable as possible, but we also make sure that we bring in information to the community that you won't find anywhere else. And as a matter of fact, we started another meeting. This one was strictly for younger folks. So between the ages of 18 and 40.
Okay.
It's called Next Voice. We invited younger folks to the table to learn about government, not about politics. We don't want them to know, start going into, Republican versus Democrat. None of this. If you understand government, you'll make your mind up about your politics. What I don't want you to do is just take yourself out of the process.
Yeah.
Because taking yourself out of the process doesn't make anything better. I would argue that it makes it worse for you, certainly, but because I need you and your support, your vote to make my life better, you making it worse for all of us when you take yourself out of the process. So we started that back in October, trying to figure out how do we make sure we maintain, because, 18 to 40, there's a lot of distractions. It's not like the gray hair like myself. You find a thing and you continue to do that thing. Younger folks, distractions, and you have to constantly reinvent the meeting, reinvent the message, the relationship. And so that's where we are right now, just doing what we can to make sure that we can continue what we started. And 40 or so, folks who show up in the room, that's a pretty good meeting.
Yeah.
Especially younger people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's, like I said, it's a balance, but it's one that I'm still navigating and I'm learning. 6 months in, you know, and a 4-year term. So, you know, I do ask folks for grace because there are some things that I have missed in the past that I've gone to. But because I am city council president, I've got to share myself in the position of council president citywide.
For sure. And speaking of younger people, last time we talked to you introduced us to your initiative, Protect Your Crown, and you recently went on a high school tour, I believe last month. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was, I will say that the Protect Your Crown initiative as a whole has been one of the most rewarding things that I've done in my career in government. The high school tour took that even to a whole nother level. To have at each school, and we did 8 schools, right? So let me back up for folks who don't know. So last year, we did a tour of coffee shops.
Yes.
So we went to 7 coffee shops citywide, 1 in each district, and we talked to residents and provided them with information on mental health resources, awareness, just having that conversation. While we were there, a representative from Detroit Public Schools Community District said, "Hey, you should take this to our schools. We want to invite you to the high schools." I'm like, okay. So we ended up doing a tour of 8 different high schools this year. And I mean, it was a lot of work in a very short period of time. Because again, just as you got to keep the interest of 18 to 40, can you imagine trying to keep the interest of high school students, you know, from 9th grade to senior? And each of the session was about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So that's a long time, but it was rewarding because we told the school, do not force anybody to show up. Those who show up to the programming that we had on that day, we wanted them to be there because they wanted to actually get something from it. And each school had about 35 to 40 students each, which was awesome. 8 different schools. And when I tell you there was not heads laying on the table, there were not earphones or earphones on the ears. They were locked in. Everybody didn't raise their hand because some people just don't like, being seen. That's whole part of what we were talking about. You don't have to just follow what everybody does. But also, if you feel like being an individual on that day and you're not hurting nobody, be who you are.
Yeah.
Right? Be who you are. And to have the young folks talk to us, communicate, share, but then when everything is over and we said, okay, thank you all, we appreciate it, they're not leaving. They're sticking around, having more conversations, saying thank you, I appreciate it. We went through breathing exercises. We introduced them to, opportunities for free mental health therapy, giving them the law on the fact that if you are 14 and up, 14 is the age of consent, if you will, if you are looking for mental health therapy.
Okay.
They didn't know that, right? We want you to consult with your parent, but sometimes, unfortunately, the parent is the problem.
Right.
And they won't consent to it. So we're providing them with those kind of opportunities and that access. So this was, when I tell you, this was without a doubt the most fulfilling thing, taken up a notch. Not a lie, not hyperbole or anything like that. It's just rewarding. We're going to continue to do it. We've been invited to go to the middle schools next year.
Okay.
So
that's gonna be a time.
Yeah, I mean, so we certainly won't be doing an hour and a half, with middle schoolers, and we've got to figure out how to tweak it a bit. But I'm very, very confident that we'll find that way because I don't want us to look and appear as if we are government coming to you. I try to look at it as if I was that age, what I want.
Yeah.
How would I want somebody to approach me? And so far, so good. And we're going to continue to do it. I mean, this is going to always be something that is a part of my life, certainly as long as I'm in elected office. Protect Your Crown, mental health, awareness, and advocacy is going to be, on the list.
And when you get to those middle schools, you're probably going to get some of the most outlandish answers you ever got.
Well, probably going to be more outlandish than, something that I came up with when I was a kid. That's what I try to remind folks, that these young folks they have different distractions, different, technology. But it's the same stuff.
It's true.
We talk about these teen takeovers, ad nauseum, and, they're not great, for business community when they go bad. But, I remind folks, so I'm 51, born in 1974. My era was the 90s, right? So the 90s went down. We would clog up Jefferson going into Belle Isle. We would clog up 7 Mile. All we were doing we getting phone numbers.
Yeah.
We just kicking it with our boys, meeting new people. But we are young people that like to be around other young people.
Right.
You know?
Of course.
The malls, before they became.
I was going to say that was my team takeover would be in their Fairlane.
Fairlane.
Yeah. Or Eastland.
So yeah, I didn't go to Eastland. I'm playing. I'm playing, y'all. I'm playing. But that's what we did. You know, it's not strange. It's just a matter of how do you keep down the destructive behavior? How do you keep the groupthink, or the pack mentality when things go bad?
Right.
When things are great, man, we want you to enjoy yourself. I mean, that's why I'm so thankful that the mayors came up with this Occupy the Summer program. So every Friday, during the summer, it's you
got an option. If you're a young person, you got an option to go do something.
And if you're a parent, you have an option, because some parents, they say, well, there's nothing to do. Well, now you have an option. Now, transportation may always be an issue. We got to figure it out. We can't solve everything each time for everybody, but we're trying to reduce the barriers to just being a kid and enjoying life.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm still thinking about the mall days back in the day. That was a good time. Hop on the bus. I could be on that Greenfield, drop me off at Fairlane or Northland. Man, I had a couple of dollars in my pocket. You couldn't tell me nothing.
Yes, sir. And you be there all day long.
All day long.
All day long. And
didn't buy nothing.
Didn't buy a thing. There all day long, and nobody worried about you because they knew, you're gonna be all right.
Right.
You're gonna be all right. Times have changed a bit. I mean, we have to acknowledge that. But I think the basics of being a human and being a human child, young person, all that is the same. It's the same. You don't want to be around older folks. You want to be around your peers. You want to stand out. You want to look fly. You want to get a phone number or two. You want to feel good about yourself.
Right.
It hasn't changed. It's just, it looks different now with social media.
Right.
And other, tech that our younger folks have, but nothing's different.
I think the interesting part to me about takeovers is basically the community organizing of it all, because they're talking about this somewhere on social media, whether it's Instagram, it ain't Facebook, but TikTok, whatever, and arranging to link up and meet up. And then you got a group of people, I'm sure, talking to a group of people to a group of people. That's community organization.
Yeah, it is. And so that's what it's always about. They always say that about the dope boys, right? If they only harness that energy, they could be doing so much positive.
Yeah.
And a lot of these young folks, again, it's not negative to be able to be an influencer and bring people out.
Right.
Because all you did was put a flyer on social media. That's huge. Now, how do you turn that into something that is non-negative? And the takeovers themselves, to me, are not negative all by itself alone. It's when the destructive behavior
there you go.
happens.
Yeah.
That's when it becomes a challenge.
Right.
And for us in government, we have to figure out, how do we strike that balance?
Yeah.
How do we strike that balance of, okay, the area has swollen into 1,000 young people. Well, do you try to be all hands off? Well, we'll just allow them, and when things finally jump off, that's when we'll jump in.
Yeah.
At that point, you got 1,000 young folks, and some of them, again, have that group mentality where when things go bad, we just gonna jump in or film it, versus trying to keep the group down to, instead of 1,000, maybe 500, which means that you're gonna have to interact and you gotta move them and do all those things. So it's a balancing act. It's almost like, 9/11, as horrible as that is, there were many attacks on the World Trade Center, but it takes one to destroy the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we have to look at it. These are lives out here. There's no there's a throwaway life. Well, we can mess up about 5 or 6 times. And maybe that one, no, you got to get it every time, because when you don't, people get hurt emotionally, physically. And then now you have to start thinking, why didn't we do what we should have done in the first place?
Yeah.
So you're going to get criticized either way. But, we sometimes err on the side of caution, and, it creates more angst from folks, than sometimes it needs to be. But I mean, it's like I said, it's a balancing act. We've got to figure out how to, allow people to have their freedoms, but also how do we make sure we keep people safe, especially our young folks, in those scenarios.
Now, before we get into my favorite part of Black Friday, I got to ask you, what about the adult takeovers, like opening day? Like that'd be the adult takeover.
Yeah.
Don't nobody want to talk about that. They want to talk about the teens taking over.
It's so funny you say that, because that's what the young folks are saying. So we talked about the takeovers during the Protect Your Crown high school tour, and it was like, y'all, talking about us, grown folks, y'all get together all the time.
Opening day, St. Patrick's Day.
Y'all drinking, you're doing all this stuff, and we see on the news, it's shootings at the clubs. And they had a point.
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing, right? That's the whole part of it. We know what happens in these environments.
Right.
So we don't want you to be in that space, because as an adult, you make a conscious decision to do something, you should now at that point weigh the repercussions.
Yeah.
As a young person, it's up to us to make sure that you're learning those repercussions, but you don't have to learn it the hard way. So,
right.
It's like me. My folks were extremely strict on me when I was growing up, and I couldn't stand it. Now I'm very thankful. I think they could have been a little bit more lax, but at the end of the day, I could have been like some of my other friends who had, very lax parents or absent parents, and their situation didn't turn out like mine. Let me just say it like that. Again, blessed and favored.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to reintroduce you to my favorite part of Black Fridays, which is Freestyle Fridays.
Yes.
So I heard the Protect Your Crown bars, but you ain't rap for us the last time. But I want to know, now that you done leveled up in your seat, are we gonna get some? We gonna get some bars, or
let me see. So that's Protect Your Crown. I got it's something coming. Let me just say this. It's something coming. So,
Okay.
so the funny thing is, because I wanted to be honest and genuine, we actually have 2 songs. I have 2 songs coming.
Okay.
Yep. One of them is a Detroit anthem. And it's called The Best Thing Yet.
Okay.
And then we have another one called Step Away, and that's a mental health song, but it's actually a dance song as well. So we've got music that's coming.
You got to hustle to it?
It's got a dance.
All right. Okay. All right.
Oh yeah, it's got a step to it. But that's why I say I don't want to make people feel a certain kind of way, because they hear without the music.
I got you.
Mix and master.
I got you.
So I need to surprise them with the whole shebang. Then I'll be back for it.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
So we're gonna do the rapid fire questions then.
Yes, sir.
So first, I want to ask you, what is a aspect of the city or a gem of the city that you haven't gotten the chance to explore yet? If it's something that you haven't checked off your Detroit bucket list just yet.
So I would say, because I ride my bike, I'm always looking for new trails, new spaces. So I've done the whole River Walk, and I've done the Quinder Cut. We just opened up some new sections of the Joe Louis Greenway.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking forward to this year. Haven't had a chance to do that just yet. So I would say the Joe Louis Greenway. I mean, it's the parts that I have ridden in the past, beautiful. I mean, it's a transformational project. I mean, free Wi-Fi. It's increasing property values in the areas where it's located. I'm mad because we don't have an installation or a portion in the district that I represent. I would love for that to be the case, because it'd be a whole lot easier for me to just ride my bike, boom, and get on that greenway and travel all around. But just to have that asset in the city of Detroit. And also, it's going to go through multiple municipalities. I mean, so Dearborn, Highland Park, Warren, Detroit. It is going to be huge when it's finally completed. But I still got a couple more stretches that we've unveiled this year that I need to ride on. So that's what I would say.
Okay. And then what kind of bike are you riding on?
$300 something. Right? I am not one of them kind of dudes that spend all this money. No, sir. I got other stuff I need to spend my money on. I look at these bikes, I'm like, man, $6,000 for a bike? $1,000, $500 for a bike, $300. That's mine. And it was $150 to buy and $50 to put together, and then I put little, extra little things on it, little new pedals and stuff. But no, I don't need all that crazy stuff.
Okay. Speaking of spending money, what's something that you would say you splurge, or what's something your wife would say you splurge on? Because my wife get on me about buying shoes and Jordans, and I get on her about buying accessories. But what would you say you splurge on?
I would say I splurge, unfortunately, on sweets and food.
Okay.
I
can't resist.
I can't resist. I got sweet potato sensations in the neighborhood, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm at
you spoiled.
Every first and third Friday. I'm over at the Java House, and Mama make all those good sweets. I mean, we got a whole lot of little bakeries and things. So that's my my challenge. I'm a pumpkin spice guy too. So when the fall comes, I'm finding all the pumpkin spice this and that. People laugh at me, but that's my thing.
Okay.
So, yeah, I got to work on it. That's why I got to get on that bike more. But that's my splurge. And Detroit style pizza. That's the other piece.
Okay. Not bad choices.
No, sir.
I mean, bad, but not bad. You know what I mean? Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Good.
Good.
Not bad.
And then, is there something new about District 1 that you would want people to know about since the last time that we saw you?
Yeah, actually, we just opened. So we got a couple of things. One, so a lot of people may remember, well, you may not remember because a lot of folks don't play golf anymore. But for those who used to play golf or do play golf, there was a Rogale golf course. For many years, Rogale has sat there. I mean, at one point in time, it was exclusive only to whites, Jewish first. No, whites. Then they allowed only Jewish. And then it opened up to other folks, Black people included. And then, unfortunately, because of the high water table over there, it became not as well maintained, and the Rouge River started just closing off some of the holes. So instead of being, 16 holes, it was only 9 because it was always waterlogged. So we ended up, as a city, selling it. Sold it to a church. Church said, they got all the juice they could get out of it, and they couldn't really make it happen. We purchased it back as a city, and now we're developing it into a nature park.
Wow.
So we're going to be having on Thursday the ribbon cutting of the nature park, first phase, over at Rogale. And I had an opportunity, yet again, ride my bike along some of the trails, and it's beautiful, man. I love it. Can't wait until the additional phases happen, because it gives you just a whole nother perspective of Detroit.
Yeah. Takes
you out of what you see on a day-to-day basis. And that's why I try to tell folks all the time, find ways to kind of shake your system.
Yeah.
Where it gives you another experience. And you don't have to always travel far. Sometimes you can just travel, on the other side of town.
Yep.
Sometimes you can just go outside in the backyard and just sit, because all you're doing is in the house all day long or in the space. Go outside, just listen to the birds, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, whatever time, just pause. So I would say that. And then yesterday, we just had a ribbon cutting for a mixed use facility. So for those who lived in the Grandmont Rosedale area, we called it the old IHOP. And it burned down. After the IHOP, it was a Coney Island, and then it burned down, and it just kind of just stayed in that situation for years. So we finally cut the ribbon on it. It's you have housing up top, senior housing, and at the bottom we actually have restaurant. So we have food options, we have dining options there. So to have that now in an old space, so we're talking about 2 different spaces that were used for 2 different things in the past. They've now been repurposed and providing benefit for the community. So those are 2 very, very new things, and we got other stuff. But those are the ones that are like the top of the brain, because literally, this week, ribbon cutting yesterday, and another one coming on Thursday. So, and we're not talking about downtown.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I try to tell people, it looks different. So when we start talking about downtown has the skyscrapers, it has the riverfront, it has the stadiums, all these other opportunities. And you have, the spaces where, the job centers are, right?
Yeah.
It looks a certain kind of way. And if you go to any downtown, it looks that way. But how do we invest in the neighborhood? It's not going to look like it does downtown. What it looks like are the parks that we have that are renovated now, that you feel comfortable walking around, for some day and night, right? What it looks like are now no longer seeing these vacant, dilapidated structures that used to be homes, but now they're structures that are just littering the neighborhood. We flatten those. Still need to figure out how to spring something up from it. But in the meantime, we now allow for at least a more open landscape. So you're not looking at that mess and fearful of, something bad lurking inside. That's what the investment looks like in our neighborhood. The investment in our neighborhoods looks like, job opportunities and training opportunities that are not sexy at all, unless you're that person who's receiving it. And now you're going from being unemployed to now making $70,000 a year, like the program that we have in Brightmoor, where we put $1 million into a workforce development program, and we're starting to see the fruits of that, come about. Started 2 years ago, and now these folks are going through training. And in Brightmoor, $24,000 is the annual median income. That is woefully low.
Yeah.
And you're just literally surviving. You're not thriving. But to now have an opportunity to be able to increase your income, increase your value and your worth out there, that's tremendous. And also potentially change the trajectory of the lives of your children. So, in many situations, when you live in poverty, your children don't live in poverty, their children, unless something shakes up that system. And we've got now something that has been able to change the direction of those families. While we try to develop a neighborhood that has been underserved, underdeveloped, So we can't just go in and just, boom, make all this development happen in Brightmoor without getting the residents fiscally more resilient and able to participate in whatever comes. It doesn't have a strong commercial corridor in Brightmoor. It has, we need more densities. There's a lot of vacancy there. We have blight. So we got to get more eyeballs. We got to get more. We got to have a lot of things over in the neighborhood. But to me, the first thing we have to do is increase people's incomes, increase people's opportunities for increased incomes through training. And once we do that, now we can start talking about all the other stuff. Because if we just go in and we just build and develop, which a lot of people want to do, there's a lot of opportunity. We end up pushing out the people who have been holding it down for all these years. And shame on us if that's our only focus. We got to take care of the people who've been there.
For sure. And I got a follow-up question to that, but I'm first thank you for participating in Freestyle Friday, and we're going to wait for the new singles that you got coming out to be able to get the actual bars, but thank you for engaging in the questions. And a follow-up to what you were just talking about in terms of the neighborhoods and being able to have an experience in your own neighborhood and outside of downtown. When I grew up in District 1 off of Schoolcraft and Greenfield, and so back then I would be able to go to Mammoth in that area and be able to do shopping. I can get my school clothes, all that type of stuff. And so that was a retail district and a retail hub. So Mammoth has been decommissioned since the last time that we talked. It's gone. It's no more. So what are the plans, if any, right now for that space?
So I'm glad you asked that question. So we're still in litigation with it. I mean, this was a situation where we had to, as a city, finally lay down the gauntlet and say, okay, what y'all gonna do? Because you let it sit for 20 years and just sat there. So we put some money together. I know some people are going to complain. They say, you use ARPA dollars to demolish this building. Yeah, because it now has, again, a chance to transform that entire area and start anew. So we have flattened it, and now we're looking to get compensation back from the previous owners of the establishment. We don't have any at this moment designs at this point because it is still in litigation. But once we get out of that space, free and clear, we now know we have an option that could be, a potential game changer in that neighborhood. I mean, because that Mammoth or that space, again, it was closed for 20 years. Bringing down the neighborhood, just bringing it down, no forward momentum whatsoever. You've got a lot of businesses that, some people in the neighborhood will go, yeah, it's got to go somewhere, but why it's got to be here? So now we have that corner of Greenfield and Grand River as a tremendous opportunity for us to either, housing or some entertainment complex or fill in the blank. But the thing that I'm even more concerned about right now is all the vacant, abandoned apartment complexes along Greenfield. That's where my mind is. And so this year, during our budget process, I had commitments from the mayor's team and their office about focusing on identifying how do we solve that issue. We have a big housing crisis in the city of Detroit with a big C, housing crisis. And we're often talking about, these new spaces. We've got spaces already. How do we get them reactivated? Because when you think about where they were 40, 50 years ago, many of these places you should look beautiful. I mean, like unfortunately, like some of our school buildings, right? Yeah. Beautiful. And then over the years, neglect, vandalism, all these things take hold, poor management, all of that. And then next thing you know, it's shut down and has no prospects for opening. And then the building next to it, it is a victim of the next door neighbor because now it's, the negative things that were happening over there now starting to spill over and so on. So then it becomes like a domino. And that's what we see on Greenfield. My next, I'm not going to say next because we're working on it right now, but my commitment is to improving that situation, providing more housing for our residents, affordable, accessible housing, but do so in an area that's going to really make a difference. So it's one thing to do it here, there, but to be able to do it along one stretch, and it creates that density we're looking for. It creates an opportunity for all the businesses in that area now to have new customers, clients. It also now creates an opportunity for that major space that we have at Greenfield and Grand River to now look at, wow, we have a community that can support this major thing that we're looking at doing. So that's one of the other big pushes. How do we get these vacant, dilapidated, abandoned apartment buildings, occupied, not as high, rent, luxury apartments or anything like that, but make them affordable.
People need space.
Absolutely.
And speaking of which, so I think about, I'm in District 7 now. And so I think along stretches of Joy Road, Tireman, you see exactly that, like abandoned or decrepit, like apartment buildings that people have to, some people are still like, they're occupied and people are living in them. Yep. And I know a big initiative from the mayor's office is affordable housing and figuring out how can we get people places to live at an affordable rate. But I guess my question is, how do you make the business case in terms of the population? Because does the population justify the cause to be able to want to create more housing for folks? And then for the people who may not necessarily have the best housing situations, how do we make sure that they can be able to be in position to occupy those spaces once they have been developed?
Yeah, you just talked about, you just outlined a challenge that we have with every development that we're thinking about doing, especially when it comes to housing. It costs.
Yeah.
The cost of developing housing, whether you talk about a single family dwelling, which is just crazy how much that costs, the labor and the materials. But then even when you talk about a multifamily unit, same thing. The costs are the costs, no matter what. It's just one costs more than the other. And especially when you start talking about doing it in mass, it really is a challenge. And unfortunately, while incomes have increased over the years in the city of Detroit, it's still not at the level that we need them to be to match up with the inflation of rent and all those other challenges with all the costs going up. That's why you often hear about us with these tax abatements. People yell at us about it. You're giving money to the rich. Well, it's not so much giving money to the rich. What happens is if we don't have any stake in this project, they can just go market rate. And next thing you know, that apartment complex that could have been, at least have some level of affordability that we can preserve somewhere in there, it's all market rate. And I will tell you, people are snapping market rate up like crazy in the city of Detroit.
Yeah.
If you go down Woodward, if you're in Midtown or downtown, all of these places where people are paying these high rent, they're occupied.
Yeah.
They're full. So I don't want anyone to get in his mindset, well, if you just say no, they'll do it anyway. They're not going to do it because they know they're going to get their money anyway. But if we are able to have some level of influence, it gives us a chance to say, okay, at least 20% of your units must be affordable at this rate.
Yeah.
And we've been able to do that. But the only way to do that is we got to put some money into the project. And that helps us solve at least a piece of the issue, but it doesn't get us all the way.
Yeah.
And some even say, well, why doesn't the city just develop its own, housing? Somewhere down the line, we may be able to do that. But right now, again, we talk about that cost. And if we're able to provide a reduction in taxes for an entity versus shelling out millions of dollars on the front end, the reduction of property taxes is going to win out. It should win out every time because you'll make that up somewhere else.
Yeah.
We just don't have millions of dollars just to shell out on GP on these various projects. As well-meaning and as impactful as they are, we have a finite amount of funds that we have to exhaust, and they go to a lot of big-ticket items. It goes to public safety. It goes to Department of Public Works, with these with the streets and improving the roads. It goes into our bus system, which is as challenging as it is. We put $20 million into it last year, 20 more than we did the previous year, and it's still not where it needs to be. That's why I'm hopeful that the folks are, paying attention. That's why we have the next voice group to walk them through what government looks like. So it's not just everything's bad, I'm just going to turn my back to it. No, you got to get involved.
Yes.
There's a millage that's coming down, right, for Wayne County residents. This millage is going to allow for all the counties in Wayne to put in some money into a pot and help increase the service for mass transit in Wayne County. Now, we've got our partners in Oakland County. They're working on one. Folks in Macomb County a little fickle at times, so we're working on them as well. But imagine having a mass transit system like they have in DC or some other places, where you're not just riding the bus because you have to ride the bus, right? You're forced to. You're riding the bus because You just feel like it. And it's
Right.
less expensive. And it gets me where I need to go. Right now, we don't have that kind of a system. Even if you are going, from DDOT to SMART, you still are not getting that experience that you want or that you receive in some of those other places. I remember I went on a work study tour in Philly last year. And, Philly is very similar to us in many different ways. But the bus system, I was talking to folks that were on the bus, and they were ecstatic about just riding the bus. And it wasn't so much they were ecstatic about it. It was just like, no big deal.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because they were forced to. They made a choice, a conscious choice to go from this side of town to that side of town, park the car, and get to and from. And that's what I want for the city of Detroit.
Yeah. Beautiful. And speaking of city of Detroit and then resources for folks, there's a wellness day that's coming up in July. So could you let us know a little bit more about that?
Yep. So, I've been big on mental health, for the last couple of years and working on my physical health, as I was mentioning earlier. I like those sweets. So that's my problem. But I also like riding my bike as well.
Yeah.
And what really has made me think even more so about my health is, I'm someone who continues to teeter back and forth with high blood pressure. Medication, lifestyle change, food, choices, all those things get tweaked a bit, but my blood pressure just won't get stabilized in the way that I want to. So I'm still popping the pills that the doc gives me, and trying to do other things as well. But I'm, again, blessed to be in a situation where it's been ingrained in me that, as a Black man, you still have to go and take care of yourself. So as you take care of your mental health, you got to also take care of your physical health. So your entire health. And so I've been working with African American male agency to improve and increase the outcomes of Black men and our health. And so we're partnering up in July 18th over at Renaissance High School. It's going to be free health screening. It's going to be a pavilion for seniors. It's going to be a kids zone as well. We want the entire family to come out. While we are talking about Black men and focusing on Black men's health, it's really for the entire family, because as that Black male is taking care of themselves, now they can be the best them for their family.
Right.
You know what I mean? They can be the best them for whatever they're trying to do. So overall health is extremely important, and many of our men, unfortunately, we, ignore it. Or if that thing is just tweaking today, it'll go away tomorrow, and then it don't go away. And then it don't go away. And next thing you know, it just becomes who you are, and it's not a big deal because you've been dealing with it for like 3 years now. And it's just, that's just my bag. It's no big deal. Yeah, that's a warning sign. Go get that thing checked out.
Right.
But we don't do that.
Yeah.
Because we're men. We got to break that stigma mentally, for the mental health aspect of it, and just overall physical health. We got to break that stigma. I had a brother that worked in my office. This dude, brilliant, warm-hearted, compassionate, you name it, all the things that you would like for a model citizen to be. And he had not been to a physician in 15 years.
Whoa.
You know what I mean? It's like, bruh, you married now. You now have to make sure that you are here for your wife.
Right.
This is not just about you. They didn't have any kids at the time. But I'm like, you got to make sure that you're here for her and be the best you that you can be for her.
Right.
And I need you too in the office, so that as well. So, he did go, after prodding him a couple of times, and he said, man, why didn't I do this earlier? I said, yeah, so we ain't going back. Do you have an appointment? So I got to check in on him. I'm glad we brought this up, because I might even invite him out on the 18th if he hasn't come back.
Please.
Going back to the doctor recently.
For sure. And so for people who want to be able to continue to follow what it is that you got going on, they want to participate in the Wellness Day, where can the people find you? What's the links? What's all that good information?
Yep. So Councilman Tate Jr., I think it is. All my handles. Yeah, we're going to put them at the bottom of the screen. Right? But James Tate, you just put it in the search bars. Councilmember Tate. I think we got a couple of different handles depending on what platform you're on, but we'll make sure we get all that information. You can always, what is it again? Yep. Councilman Tate 313. That's it. Councilman Tate 313. As you can see, they got me running. So I got a whole team that operates the social media, and they're doing a tremendous job. But we want to make sure we stay connected. But we still do the old school way too, right? I mean, if there's some folks who just, are dying to hear a voice on the phone, you can always call the phone number at 313-224-1027 as well, or drop us an email. Social media, same thing, but we just want to stay connected.
Perfect. And then what's next? What's in the crystal ball for you I know you plan on getting out on your bike this summer for city council. What can you share with us that's on the horizon?
So for me personally, I definitely want to get more recreational opportunities. I want a vacation, man. I want some time away, time off where I can just kind of like move and just like not think about any of the heaviness and come back, regenerated, and ready for the next task. So in August, I plan on taking just a few days off and then getting back on the grind. It's really, this is what I think I'm here to do on this earth. Sometimes people try to figure out, what is the meaning of my life? What is my pathway? I believe that I found it. I don't think I'm done by any means, but I think that service is what I do. And no matter what I do, I can't run away from it. I don't want to either.
Yeah.
I want to do it right here in the city of Detroit.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it. No better city to be in. At all. So, Councilman Tate, we gratefully appreciate you for pulling back up on the podcast, and we're going to keep your open invitation open. So feel free to pull back up on us, but continue to be appreciative of your dedication to the city, and then even your willingness to elevate in your role and responsibilities for the sake of not only your community, but the city as well. We appreciate it.
No, thank you. And I appreciate having, like I said, this platform. We didn't talk about the latest vote we did at the table. There's a whole opportunity for folks to find out and hear about that. I think it's important to learn more about the individuals who the people put in these positions.
Yeah.
And so I thank you, Denzel, for this opportunity, brother. Thank you.
Absolutely. And everybody watching, listening, we're going to tap in with y'all soon. Peace.